Good afternoon, everybody. It's going to be our Summary Markets episode 178. We're going to talk about this week's calendar. We're going to move into ES, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Then we're going to close it up with oil, the dollar, and the euro. So starting off with the calendar here, we have a little bit of data on Monday. We have the Empire State Manufacturing Index. That comes out at 8:30 in the morning, so it's going to be pre-market. And that's pretty much it for Monday. So moving on to Tuesday, we have core retail sales and regular retail sales coming out at 8:30 a.m. Once again, pre-market. We have industrial production, 9:15, right for the bell. We have business inventories and a housing market index after the bell at 10 a.m. Moving on to Wednesday, we've got a couple of housing data points. We've got building permits and housing starts coming out at 8:30. That's going to be pre-market. Moving on to Thursday, we have unemployment claims, the Philly Fed Manufacturing Index, existing home sales, and that is about it for the week. So the major events you want to watch out for, pre-market Monday, pre-market Tuesday, and then we have the unemployment on Thursday. Everything else, not really a big deal. All right, moving on to ES here. As always, let's start out with last week's profile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's remember to get rid of our old weeklies. So here we go. Actually, let's make this easier. We can just drag these around. So we'll drag this one up here. We'll drag that one there. And there. Okay, so it looks like our value area high is 45.60, our POC is 45.10, and our value area low is 44.55. We do have a couple of LVN zones. We have that single print zone around the 90s, and there's a small single print zone around the mid 60s as well. We have a bunch of levels below us that we're going to leave on the chart. I know the chart's getting a little messy. But all of these levels have not been retested. So if we start to lose this trend, these are all the naked levels that we want to target on the way down. Okay, let's see. To the upside, we want to watch Friday's value area high. That's going to be around 53. Then we have the weekly high, the weekly value area high, which is actually the high of the week as well, 45.60. And then we have some targets to the upside around 88. 14 and 31. To the downside, we are still in a value retrace of Thursday here. You can see the value area from, where is that? 40 down to 20. We did start retracing that right at the close on Friday, but obviously the close stopped us from fully retracing. So if we do stay below 40, we could complete that value retrace all the way back down to 20. And then if it continues to be bearish, as we were saying earlier, we just have to watch these value retraces on the way down. We have all of these days that have not been retested. So we're going to retrace Thursday, then we go down to 15, retracing to 4,500 even, and then we go all the way down to 64, retracing down to 47. So basically just take it day by day, retrace by retrace, and those are the levels you want to be targeting. So for starters, you just have to keep an eye on 45.20 if we can stay below 45.40. All right, moving on to NASDAQ. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going back to our weekly profile. Let's go ahead and drag our levels here. And we'll clean up all these levels that were already retested. So those levels were hit. Let's see here. That level was hit as well. Pretty much all of these levels were hit on NASDAQ. Okay, that should be good. And then what we want to do on NASDAQ is we want to mark out these value retrace areas. This level's overlapping, so we'll ignore that. And then we have the value area high and low of Friday. Okay, so that's enough levels. Do we have levels to the upside? We do not. So let's go ahead and grab some levels to the upside here. NQ is getting very close to its all-time high. So we don't have that many levels left. Let's go ahead and grab this local high right here. Or I shouldn't say local, it's pretty old. And then honestly, what we should do is we should grab the value area of this entire zone right here. And let's go ahead and we'll make these a little bit bigger so we know that these are very old levels. And honestly, those are the only levels we can really take. And then if you really want to, you can mark out the all-time high as well. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. So if we go back to the current price action, you can see this thick level right there. That's the one that we just created. So we can say that if we stay above this level on the long/midterm, we should be pretty bullish into this value retrace all the way back into 449. So that'd be a climb of nearly 1,000 points. Obviously, that's a very long-term level. We're not going to be looking for that this week, but that would be the overall target if you guys are mid to long-term traders. So we got to stay above 760 to begin that value retrace. Now on the short term, we have this value retrace of Thursday, which we currently are using as support. So a little bit of a difference on NASDAQ compared to ES. ES was going into this value retrace. It was starting that value retrace of Thursday. But on NQ, we are using that value area high as support, so it's not starting that retrace. So NASDAQ is a little bit more bullish than ES. Now to the upside, if we can stay above 711, we should begin the value retrace of Friday going back to 827. If we lose the Thursday value area high, then we will start that value retrace to the downside back into 535. And then same thing that we said on ES, you just take it day by day. So once we retrace that one, we look for that day there. Once that has been retraced, we look for that day there. And then you just take it day by day. Because we're trending so strongly in one direction, if we start to retrace, it's just one big value retrace. Okay, so you just break it up into stages. It's the best way to trade those trends. All right, moving on to Bitcoin here. Bitcoin had a bit of a run. I didn't even notice actually it retraced that entire run there. That's kind of nasty. I knew it was running on the Ripple news. If you guys didn't see the Ripple news, they won their court case stating that Ripple was not a security, which is very good for the crypto space as a whole. And crypto started running very hard. If we look at Ripple here, Ripple went up 100%. And you actually haven't retraced most of it. You pulled back a little bit. It pulled back about 20% from the high, but we're still up about 60% from the low. It went from around 47 cents to around 75. So still holding that news pretty bullishly. I'm surprised that Bitcoin pulled back so aggressively. But because it pulled back, we are still stuck in this nasty distribution. So nothing has changed basically since we started the trade plan on Bitcoin way back in June. The range trade plan is going to remain the same, until we hold value above 31,000 or below 29.5. So for now, if it goes back towards the low, look to be a buyer unless we find value below 29.5. If it goes back towards the high, look to be a seller until we hold value back above 31,000. Okay, we are dead center, like almost to the absolute dollar, holding the middle of this range for now. All right, moving on to Ethereum. Same thing with Ethereum. Had a nice pump with all of crypto on July 13th, which was Thursday. Retrace that move, so it's looking a little toppy for now. If we do start holding back below 1920, probably going to retrace and see if there's any value on this low right here. So we can go ahead and mark out this previous low. They're probably going to test if there's liquidity resting below that level if they fail 1920. If they can stay above 1920, we already tested this value level at 1993, so look for a break of that into 2000 or possibly into 2050. And we still have a little bit of value around that area from 2050 to 2150. Okay, so look for untested value, which in this case would be around 2050 if we can start breaking and holding above that high. So above like 1960, we need to bounce off 1920 as well. All right, moving on to oil. We talked about how oil was in a very large D-shape distribution. And if we could hold above this like 74 to 75 area, then it is looking to rotate to the high of that D-shaped distribution, which in this case would be the low 80s, 80 to 84, 83, somewhere around there. You're currently in that rotation right now. You are trying to break and hold above 74. It's getting a little toppy. You do have a nasty candle reversing on Friday. If this pullback can respect the 74 to 75 support, we should continue that rotation back into at least 80, possibly 83 to 84. There's a lot of news going on with oil recently, so keep a close eye on that. Don't just fall in love with the levels. You do have to keep an eye on the fundamentals. If it loses this retrace back below 75, then this would be determined as a failed rotation, and we would most likely be going back into this lower support where we found multiple bottoms, right? So if we lose that 75, most likely going to look for somewhere around 70 to 68. So keep a close eye on 75 down to 73 at the lowest is what the buyers want to protect. All right, moving on to the dollar here. So we talked about last week, I believe it was last week, maybe the week before, if we failed the 200 EMA, then we would be looking for a possible retrace into this accumulation, probably sweeping those lows, or at least testing those lows. And that's basically what we saw here. We saw a failure of the 200. We lost this major support. And we did not sweep the lows. We just completely nuked through the lows. So this is not a liquidity grab. They are not looking for liquidity here. This is a very bearish impulse. So this bounce here could be overdue. We are a little extended. But that doesn't mean that it's bullish, right? If we bounce here, and we still find resistance around this 101 level, is most likely going to continue lower. If we can bounce and generate a lot of value back above 101, then it might be ready to go back into this previous support. For now, the next major support is around 99.4. We have to zoom out pretty far to find supports. This is dating all the way back to March of 2022, over a year from where we are currently. So that is how big of a sell-off we are currently in on the dollar. Let's go ahead and mark out this previous low. If we do start selling off some more, next support would be around 98 to 97.7. There is a little bit of data this week, but nothing that should really move the dollar too hard. Okay, moving on to the euro here. We had a nice breakout, obviously, because the dollar is losing its value. We hit two of our major breakout targets, 112.1 and 112.7. Do we have levels above this? We do. Next level would be 115. This 112.7 level is actually an old gap. I believe it was on like the weekly. Was it the weekly? Let me see here. Yeah, there was an old gap on the weekly dating back to February of 2022, which is currently being filled in. We are also breaking above the 200 EMA on the weekly. So this is a very strong move for the mid to long-term traders. If we can stay above like 111, it's looking really good for the euro to continue this upward impulse. Let's take a look at a Fibonacci here, actually, because it looks like we're going to be coming up on some fibs pretty soon. Yeah, so we're actually coming up on the 618 really soon, which would be around 113.07. If we can break that, then it's already recovered most of the downward impulse here. You've already broke through the 50%, which it did struggle a few times. It struggled about 3 times there, but we have broken through that. So if you guys use Fibonacci, typically what is seen as the sell zone would be this zone right here. So we have sold this 3 times already, and now we're trying to break out of it. So if it can break out of that 113, looking really good long-term to go for a full retrace. If we can't break 113, probably going to come back down to 110.6, maybe even 110 even. But all right, guys, that was the summary of markets. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. It does help a lot on YouTube. One last thing before we go, I do talk about this on the live stream, but I haven't mentioned it on the summary of markets yet. I wanted to mention that we're having a July raffle for our Apex partnership. So if you guys use our Apex code, our code is LNVGPAFP, you'll get 80% off your Apex funding program, and you will get a raffle ticket per 50K account. So if you have a 50K sign up, you'll get 1 raffle ticket. If you sign up for 100K, you'll get 2 tickets, so on and so forth. Hopefully you guys can do that math as traders. The possible prizes for this raffle at the end of the month, we'll be giving away 1-year Discord membership, 1-year trading bot access, and $500 cash. There will be multiple winners. So if you guys do sign up for this raffle, be sure to send me an email. My email is admin@oasistrading.io. And I will get to you guys. I'll add you guys to the sheet, and we'll get to the raffle at the end of the month. But all right, guys, you guys have a good rest of your day. I will be seeing you guys this week for our live stream. We will be streaming Monday through Friday at 9:15 in the morning. See you guys then.